You meet someone new. The conversation flows naturally, they seem genuinely interested in you. And somewhere in the middle of it all, a quiet thought appears. Don't get too comfortable. So you pull back, just slightly. You become a little more careful with your words, a little more guarded with your feelings. You laugh, but you don't reveal too much. You engage, but you keep one foot near the exit. And later, alone, you wonder why connection always feels like standing at the edge of something dangerous. Here's what nobody tells you. That guarded feeling, that instinct to protect yourself before anything even goes wrong, might not be caution, it might be fear. A very specific, very quiet fear that has been shaping your relationships, your decisions, and your sense of self for a long time. The fear of being rejected. Most people think fear of rejection is simple. You ask someone out, they say no, it hurts. You apply for a job, you don't get it, you feel disappointed. Clean, temporary, manageable. But psychology sees something far more complex beneath the surface. For some people, rejection isn't just an occasional sting, it is an ever-present undercurrent running beneath almost every interaction, a silent filter through which every relationship, every conversation, every opportunity gets processed. And the tricky part? Most people carrying this fear don't recognize it, because it doesn't always look like fear. It looks like independence. It looks like being selective. It looks like having high standards, or simply preferring your own company. It disguises itself so effectively that the person living with it often believes they are completely fine. But the signs are there, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Psychologists call an extreme sensitivity to rejection-sensitive dysphoria, an intense emotional response, sometimes almost instant, triggered by the perception that someone has disapproved of you, pulled away from you, or found you lacking in some way. But even outside of clinical definitions, fear of rejection operates through a very specific mechanism in the brain. When a person experiences rejection, or even anticipates it, the brain activates some of the same neural pathways associated with physical pain. This is not metaphor. This is neuroscience. The mind processes social exclusion in a remarkably similar way to how it processes being physically hurt. So when someone with a deep fear of rejection hesitates before sending a message, avoids expressing a genuine opinion, or quietly shrinks themselves in a room full of people, they are not being dramatic. They are avoiding pain. Real, neurologically registered pain. And the behaviors that develop around this fear are sophisticated. The brain is remarkably creative when it comes to self-protection. You might find yourself agreeing with people even when you don't, not because you're dishonest, but because disagreement feels like an invitation for disapproval. You might over-explain your choices, seeking validation before criticism can arrive. You might withdraw first, ending things, stepping back, going cold, because leaving on your own terms feels safer than being left. All of these behaviors make complete sense. Each of them is the mind doing exactly what it was trained to do. Research suggests that fear of rejection rarely develops in a vacuum. It is almost always rooted in earlier experiences, moments in childhood or adolescence where belonging felt conditional, where love came with terms, where being yourself resulted in loss. Studies show that people who grew up in environments with inconsistent emotional responses, where a parent was warm one moment and distant the next, where approval was unpredictable, develop nervous systems that stay permanently on alert for signs of withdrawal. The brain learns that connection is fragile, that it can disappear without warning, and so it starts scanning constantly for any signal that something is about to go wrong. This is not weakness. This is adaptation. The mind doing exactly what it was designed to do, protect the person it belongs to. Consider two people at the same social gathering. Both feel a little nervous, both are trying to make a good impression,
The first person mingles, shares their opinions freely, laughs at themselves when something awkward happens, and leaves without spending much time analyzing every interaction. If someone seemed uninterested, they notice it briefly and move on. Rejection, when it comes, is uncomfortable, but it doesn't rewrite anything fundamental about how they see themselves. The second person, the one quietly carrying this fear, moves through the same room very differently. They are constantly monitoring, reading expressions, measuring responses, adjusting in real time based on what they think other people want from them. If someone seems distracted during their conversation, they take it personally. If they tell a joke that doesn't land, they replay it for hours. They leave the gathering exhausted, not from the socializing itself, but from the invisible emotional labor of managing the constant possibility of not being accepted. Same room, same night, two completely different internal experiences. The difference isn't confidence. It isn't likability. It is the presence or absence of that deep, quiet fear and the weight it places on every ordinary human moment.
Here's something worth understanding deeply. People who fear rejection are not people who care too little about themselves. They are often people who care enormously about connection, about being truly known, about belonging somewhere that feels real and lasting. The fear doesn't come from emptiness, it comes from depth, from a part of the self that has wanted genuine connection so badly for so long that the thought of losing it has become almost unbearable. Psychologists call this approach avoidance conflict, the simultaneous desire to get close to something and the impulse to stay away from it, because closeness also means vulnerability, and vulnerability means the possibility of pain. This is why so many people with this fear choose relationships that never quite become fully intimate, not because they don't want intimacy, but because intimacy requires taking the mask off, and the mask has been keeping them safe for a very long time. If any part of this felt uncomfortably familiar, if you recognized yourself in the person monitoring the room, in the one who pulls back first, in the one who edits their personality to keep people close, please hear this. You are not broken. You are not unlovable. And you are not too complicated for real connection. You are someone who learned, at some point, that being yourself carried a risk, and you adapted. You survived. But you don't have to keep surviving in the same way forever. The nervous system that learned fear can also learn safety, slowly, through experiences that prove over and over again that you can be seen, fully, honestly seen, and still be chosen. You are wired for connection. The fear is just louder than the truth right now.
If this video helped you understand yourself a little clearer, take a moment to sit with that. Real self-awareness is rare, and you're already doing the quiet, courageous work of looking inward. If you want to keep exploring, subscribe to this channel. Every week, we go into the deeper corners of human psychology, the parts that explain not just what you do, but why, because you deserve more than surface-level answers.